Welcome back to Horrifically Well Read, Bled, and Said. We are so excited to welcome Lily Anderson to the pod today. Showstopper is an amazing slasher that is coming out at the end of the month, and Killer House Party is coming out in paperback, I think the same day, which is very exciting. And we are just so excited to have this conversation with you tonight. Welcome, Lily.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. So, we talk about this because I've been a horror fan my whole life. Rebecca is newer to the genre and, well, newer to knowing that she loves the genre. Let's say that she's been reading horror her whole life, not realizing, sometimes that it is. And I think you're a great guest for that because you kind of marry the horrors of real life and some real supernatural horror too. But is horror something that's always been a part of like your reading, your watching, all that kind of stuff? Or is that something that's come more recently?
Definitely more of a Rebecca. I think about my history with horror. I have been reading it, watching it, engaging with it my whole life, but I consider myself to be a scaredy cat. And so my way into horror was horror comedy. And so like the original Buffy movie and then later the TV show and Little Shop of
Yeah.
Horrors and Evil Dead and then like Scream and Cabin in the Woods, like those were the things that I was like, okay, I get this. Shaun of the Dead, like okay, if they're jokes, then it makes it less scary and I can watch
Yes.
it. And so it wasn't until like the last 5-10 years that I was like, what if I engage with something scary that isn't funny at all?
I love that you actually brought up the Buffy movie.
I was about to say, I was like, yes.
And I love
we
that,
get a
like-
lot of Buffy the TV series,
Yeah.
but the movie does not get nearly as much
it
love.
deserves the love, especially Pee Wee Herman
Yes.
doing the
Yeah.
like that's the jokey right there.
The 10-minute death scene.
Yes, and I love well, Adam introduced me over 20 years ago to Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, it is. I think last year was its 20th.
Yeah. Last year was the 20th.
Yeah.
And I love Hot Fuzz. It's like a total comfort movie to me.
Mhm.
Do you like that one too with Simon Pegg?
Absolutely. The whole Cornetto trilogy,
Wow.
I think,
Yes.
is perfect. I'm a real defender of The World's End
Yes.
as well.
We were just talking about this too,
Yeah.
that like, God.
Well,
so
we
good.
often joke that Adam's like fake name would be the author Clyde Gollings
from Paul.
from with Simon Pegg and
Yeah.
Nick Frost. I don't know if you watched that one too, but that one's also excellent.
Yeah.
No, I love that because like Shaun of the Dead was like one of the first movies we watched together as a couple, and then Hot Fuzz came out like on our year anniversary, almost
Mhm.
exactly. So those movies are near and dear to our hearts as well.
Like it never stops being a good trope of for
Yeah.
the greater good. Like there's so many books that it goes back to
Yeah,
with having that.
absolutely. Because it is so funny, but that is also like, I think especially like throughout history and now, even more so that this idea of like, things being acceptable because it does serve the greater good is definitely an interesting thing to see. So that's very cool.
Absolutely. It's just like
Yeah.
a chilling reality.
Yes.
You're like, oh yeah, it's kind of less and less of a joke and more like, "Oh, yeah, this might actually just be happening.
It's interesting too because all of those, especially Shaun of the Dead, music is so huge in that movie. It's such a huge part of it. And obviously music is a big part of your work as well. So I think that's really
A
a cool
connection.
kind of throughway too.
Yeah, music would be an even bigger part if my publishers would pay for copyrights. I think every book I get my hand slapped of, you can't do that. We won't pay
Oh my
for it.
gosh.
Well, I have to say, I know we're skipping around a little bit, but I love
the best conversation. I love
yeah, but I love the sort of musical you created for Showstopper. Like I could see like that being such a huge hit of like the Riverdale, kind of thing that like,
yeah.
I'm like, were you thinking when you were doing it? I was like someone's gonna approach me to really do this.
Absolutely. I wanted the freedom to sort of play around with a musical that didn't really exist and to get around the copyright of, well, if I have a musical that exists, you can never quote the lyrics.
Mhm.
And so in trying to make something up, I was trying to think, well, what's a like TV show or movie property that hasn't already been turned into a musical that seems like it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I really did. I want credit for being clairvoyant when like
Love it.
in 5
Love it.
years it's on Broadway.
Yeah,
Well, it was funny because like I'm not like anti musical theater, but like
I am.
it's not like I'm not like super well versed in it. So like as I'm reading it, I'm having to look it up and be like, is this real? Because like I
That's
would kind of
awesome.
want to watch this.
I don't want to say that I'm anti-musical theater. I just
Classic.
like Rodgers and Hammerstein.
You
Like
have some PTSD from your childhood.
I would rather get a
Yeah.
variety of shots. So the things are better now and like much more like I don't dislike it. I'm not gonna like pick to put on Hamilton, but once it's on, I'm like,
This is
I
really
just
good.
rather read the book, which
Mhm.
you know, and like I did that with total side note there for
Mhm.
the Mrs. Hamilton.
Oh, the
Oh, okay. Well,
Cherno.
yeah.
Yeah, the historical.
Skylar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good.
Mm.
I don't want to hear the singing. I could do
Mhm.
without the breaking into song, right? But I know that's most people really like that. I just consider myself the odd one out that doesn't get
Mhm.
it. But Adam, what's that movie that you like at Christmas time? That's like,
Anna and the Apocalypse. Yeah.
yeah, you love like that's your favorite, like a horror
My
Christmas.
favorite Christmas movie. It's by far my favorite zombie musical for
Oh,
sure.
I've never seen it.
Yeah,
Are
let's
you?
go into it.
Oh
Tell her about
no.
it. Pitcher.
So it's Irish or Scottish. I'm not sure which one. I think it's Scottish actually. And it basically takes place in a high school around Christmas time, and it just happens to be at the same time that a zombie apocalypse happens. And you have full, breaking out in a song, dancing, and all that, with this happening. And honestly, it's so good.
You're like
So
it's a masterpiece.
I think it's on
Perfect.
Shutter if you have Shutter. Last
Oh
I
yeah.
checked. So yeah,
She's
I
like,
will definitely look this up.
I have
I
the
will not wait for
soundtrack on.
Christmas.
yeah, you do.
I have the soundtrack on vinyl. Like I listen to
Yes.
it all the time. It's
Outside of this, I can't think of you liking any other musical. Like
not like that. I mean, the Phantom of the Opera has.
yeah,
You
you love that
I do
movie,
like
but
that,
yeah,
yeah, but-
you're not someone that's ever gonna watch. So for you to be like all in on this,
and it's great because like there's this huge like through the town musical number, which reminds me very much of the Shaun of the Dead when he goes into the
Mhm.
convenience store scene where she's going through the whole thing, not realizing there's a zombie apocalypse happening directly behind her, as she's singing and dancing and everything. So
Mm.
it's so good. It's a great movie, I think. So definitely, if you watch it, you have to let me know what you think about it.
Absolutely. You'll get a report.
Yes, but for Showstopper, I just love, okay, even if you're not a huge fan of musicals, I think a lot of people know that sort of mentality of going either to a camp or being part of a group where like these people take this thing so seriously. They are the best at it at their age. You already have these hormones of teen years going on, and then you're adding to it like the fact that this is so high stakes. That I just love how you brought then the tropes of like slashers into it. And I think it works so well in this book. I was invested from the very beginning. And, I love that this is a full blooded slasher and a really great mean kids camp story at the same time.
Yeah, I'm glad that you say that even though you aren't a musical theater person, you still liked it. I think that was my publisher was so scared when I was like, okay, here it is. It's about theater kids. There's no one else. And I had pitched it as sort of like, well, people read sports books even if they don't like sports.
Yeah, I
true.
mean,
Yeah.
how
And the
many hockey
mentality
players
is
are
the
reading
same.
Icebreaker? You know what I mean? So
Yes,
Right?
that's so true. I mean, I'll read about the musical. Like we had Karen Macon Fleischer on a play about a curse, and I was
Mhm.
like, I don't want to read the plays either. Like I was kind of like, Adam, I don't know. I try to read everybody
Like, you
before they
gotta
come
read
on. I
this,
don't want
yeah.
to. And then I read it. And I'm like, it's a top book for me this year. Really enjoyed it. Like so. Apparently, I can just everything I dislike in actual visual. I just want to read about it.
Well, it's funny though, because
So if you ever reject these things,
Yeah.
please give them a try.
but I have to say, your book made me want to watch more musicals.
My God, what did you do?
I broke him.
What did you do? Adam, I think that her book does what you always say. It's the Hannah Montana.
Best of both worlds?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You get the best. Do you get that reference? You get the best of
I
both
do.
worlds?
I do.
Okay.
But yeah, your publisher was a little worried about that, but what did you do to calm them down? Or hopefully I can
She
help
said,
with that
shut
too.
the fuck up. No,
I promised that I would kill a bunch of people, and that was sort of they were calmed down. I was like, it'll still be a horror, I promise. It will be even more gruesome than my last book, because the pitch was really, well, you know how everyone thinks theater kids are annoying? What if we killed a bunch of them?
well, and here's the thing. These days, theater kids, they're fucking bad.
Well, yes.
They're doing just as many drugs. They're doing just as much hand checks of what I'm
I
coming
have a
from.
feeling it was always that case. I don't know if you
I'm
can
just
vouch for
saying,
that.
yeah, like they're not what you think. You know what I mean? I think there's just like a strong stereotype. At least,
Mhm.
our daughter's about to turn 23, and I was like, no. She's like, oh yeah, and I'm like,
Because she is
what?
a theater kid. Yeah.
And she's
Yeah.
excellent, but she was also did a ton of sports and everything. Like, you gotta stop sticking people into such tough labels.
Stereotypes.
I
Yeah.
gotta give more musicals a chance,
Mm.
Lily.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think musicals really are, and it's the same. I'm also a big Shakespeare fan,
Yeah.
and I think it's just a language. And if you grow up speaking the language, you're like, yeah, I get it. I click into all of it, no problem. And if you don't grow up loving it, you're sort of like, why would it be like this?
Yeah.
And so you just have to find your way in. And so, like, there are musicals that are less like presentational stop and sing, and there are
Right.
musicals that have like really heavy themes or really funny themes. Like
Okay.
the Evil Dead musical, if you see it live, the first 2 rows get splashed with blood. Like,
Okay.
I did go see that. If you remember, you bought tickets for me for my birthday many years ago. And
and
God,
didn't
let's
go.
do the Necronomicon. I mean, it is so much fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I do like what's the my God, it's this time of year with Tim. Please help me.
This time of year, it's
Halloween.
okay.
It's where he does it's the guy from Home
Is it?
Alone.
Is it? Oh, is
Tim
it Rocky
Curry.
Horror? Is it The Worst Witch?
He's dressed up.
Rocky Horror Picture
Yes.
Show? Okay.
And they sing in that. And I
Okay.
like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you guys, like, there's times like I have had this problem pre-COVID
Mm.
where I can see it, I can think it, and I can't say the word, but I can be like, let's suppose it's a bagel, and I'd be like, it's round, it's full of bread, you put cream cheese on it. Like, I can say all those things, but I cannot find the word freaking bagel.
Toast. No.
You bastard. I have a question. Let's see if I remember it
Oh,
here.
no.
Oh, God, it just left. Something about, you mentioned about Shakespeare. I was wondering if you ever read outside of your genre and have considered reading or have read Jodi P. Colt's book by any other name in regards to Shakespeare.
I do read very widely outside my genre. I have not read that specific Jodi
Well,
Picoult.
I would really like to recommend it to you because the whole book is the premise that Shakespeare had language, colloquial phrases, like maps, basically the way he wrote about things all over the places for places that he didn't live and areas he
Yeah.
didn't speak and all this. So the whole thought is that Shakespeare is a collection of female writers that paid him to like basically be the figurehead and produce these things and write under this, but it's a variety of women that are Shakespeare. And she does a really good job. It actually takes place in like two timelines of a play and then going back and forth. And by the end of it, I mean, I'm pretty sold on that fact. So, I mean, I would love for you to check it out. And look, I'll watch the musical and read the,
Okay,
and
okay.
then you do this and
This
we'll
is the
both report. It is, but I thought it was pretty fascinating and it makes so much sense as to why he isn't Christopher
Marlowe.
Yes, and it's just like, I
And who
mean,
was it? There was like a Duke.
but
that he
they
was,
just,
right?
I mean, the way that, and she does such a good job of coming with receipts. It's almost like,
Mhm.
I don't want to say it's nonfiction, but it's like a fiction nonfiction. It's
Mhm.
really good.
Yeah, no, it's like Da Vinci Code, where you're like, okay, I see.
Yes.
I can see the steps. I got it. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Even if it's not true, it feels true. I'm like, yeah, that's great.
it certainly feels like it puts into a lot of things of like, well, how did you do this? Well, how did you do that? And it's probably been 2 years since I've read it, but I really feel like for anyone who's into literature and English
Mhm.
and had to study him, aka Adam, that I've asked you to read it for quite some time.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but it's worth it. But anyway, I just feel like, when we talk about like what are the basis of
Yeah.
things like good writing and
Uh-huh.
like dramas and comedies and like, okay, I just think there's so many things like for years that, women weren't allowed to do certain things like that.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to me historically that could be possible.
Yeah. And that kind of tie back into Showstopper. Like when you get to, obviously when you're making a slasher, one of the most important parts is like the iconic look. Obviously you don't see who the killer is, but you have this like figure, and you have, the masks in your book, of the
Yeah.
drama, and that kind of thing. And it is such a stark, there are, I've always thought they're creepy, the faces for that. Like, what was did you just like see that and you're like, oh yeah, that's my slasher? Like thinking about that, how did that come about?
Yeah, I wanted to pick a mask that, well, one, I wanted to pick a mask that hasn't been done,
Hmm.
and something that you could find in like a theater costume closet. And the Commedia dell'arte masks are like, they're grotesque. Like they're
Yeah.
grotesque on purpose. It's that sort of
Hmm.
like very exaggerated, like comedy tragedy
Yeah.
mask sort of thing. But it's something that if you saw it staring at you in the dark, you'd be like, ugh, why?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
And
I could see that.
yeah,
Like,
For sure. And I think that there's parts in this book, like, and I'm not to give away any kills or anything, but like when they happen, it's like I can envision them so much. Like I know that people say this all the time about books and stuff like that, but it's so cinematic. Like I swear to God, if this doesn't become a movie, like I'm gonna be so angry. It just like immediately lends itself to that. And it's just like it's just so good. And one thing that as I'm like going through all your books again, as we were, I'm getting ready for talking to you, like one through line that I really enjoy is that, Undead Girl Gang, like in Showstopper especially, that I'm thinking about is that like, you think about slashers as always a who done it, right? It's like, but this book and even in Undead Girl Gang, when you're trying to figure out who, is behind these things, the why is just as important as the who, and is just as more interesting. And like as you're sort of, one, are you like a plotter or a pantser? And then two, as you're figuring out who it is that's responsible, are those like coming together at the same time? Or it's like when you figure out why, then you're like, oh, it makes sense that this person is doing
definitely a
it.
plotter.
Okay.
I have to know where a book is going, and for a slasher or anything that has like a mystery element, I have to know at the beginning who did it and why,
Yeah.
just so that like the book has any direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because even if like the reader doesn't know, maybe they do, maybe they guess it right away. But if the reader doesn't know, but you still have to be sort of like leading them down the path, so that like when you get to the big reveal, they'll go, oh, okay, that makes sense,
Yeah.
because
It's
there
not like
was
a
this
cheat.
thing
Yeah.
that I saw earlier and I didn't know what that meant, and I was wondering why this. Yeah. But I think that's, I don't know, that's always my favorite part of like a horror movie,
Hmm.
is the reveal, and like, and this is why. And it can be not important, like Halloween, where it's just
Right.
sort of like, I don't know, he's just like that. And that's its own scary thing.
Yeah.
But I
yeah,
like the
true.
sort of the Scream movie endings of like big villain monologue, and this
Yeah.
happened and you didn't know. And I always love that. So
Yeah.
I want to write those.
I love that. And but the thing is that like, you know, when it gets to those, it's not that you identify with, or maybe you do a little bit more than you want to admit with who's doing it and their motives for it. It's so complicated in both of those books that, like, it's like a second level of devastation outside of like the people dying, that it's like, this is so sad and this is so understandable, but at the same time terrible, that like, the ending, especially for Showstopper, I'm just like, son of a bitch. So
Yeah.
like, I was like, it was so good. And I was just thinking, like, is that a conscious thing to say, like, I don't want this to be Scream does it fairly well sometimes, but that Scooby Doo, kind of here's my villain speech and I'm super evil. It's like these people still are people, and their motivations, while their actions are horrible, their motivations are almost understandable.
I
I
think
think that's
that's the best because you kind of
Yeah.
flirt with, is it really a villain? Or like,
mhm.
like,
Yeah.
are you, when you can identify some of those characteristics, where you're like, I kind of see myself a little bit in the villain, like,
And also some of these people that you thought of as victims were villains
yeah,
too.
I
Yeah, so
love when it
yeah.
mashes up like that.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think that for me, that's the interesting thing about writing YA.
Mhm.
I I come from like an education background as well. So I was an elementary school librarian and a middle
Right.
school librarian for many years.
Mhm.
And so writing for young people, I think it's really important that all the young characters are as human as possible. And a
Right.
lot of my books are sort of like really hitting home like everyone's a person
Mhm.
though. Because I think when you're a teenager, especially, you get that sort of tunnel vision of like, I exist and I'm the star of my own movie.
Right.
And everyone else is kind of like an NPC who, like, I don't know, they just do whatever. And I want my books to be like, really underlining like, no, that's a person who's the star of their own movie and they have
Love that.
interiority and
Love that.
bad things have happened to them and
Right.
we're all experiencing the same thing and we're in community with each other.
Yeah.
So I think I can, in my books, adults can be like sort of like mustache twirly villains, but the kids are gonna be as three-dimensional as I can make them. Even like the most annoying character who you hate, it's like, yeah, but like they're a person.
Yeah.
I really like that because going into the psychology and behavior of, and I think back to just like we were talking about the classic literature, but it's like, I think that's why I always love that about the Lord of the Flies. It's like, because you can see how this can happen,
Oh yeah.
and just, especially like, when you're younger, sometimes you don't know any better. Sometimes you're just very myopic, very short sighted, and just like very much needing, like, you just want your own needs met. And I don't know that that necessarily goes away for some people too, but I know that I had, speaking of the NPC thing, someone had said like, do you ever think about when you're driving in traffic and you're passing all these cars, they're just NPCs to you, but you are to them as well?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like they're just a flash in their life and you'll never see them again most likely, but like, and it just proves your point that
Yeah.
you're just, everybody does have their own
Right.
thing. And anyway, I think the first, bringing it back to movies here, you exposed me to the movie Crash, which
Not the
everybody,
Cronenberg crash porn crash, but
oh,
the
good.
multiple people
Oh,
crash.
Yeah. And just how everyone that,
the Oscar crash
Yeah,
and
yes,
not,
exactly, yeah.
yeah, got
everyone
it,
that you
got it.
thought was good and right and harmed and all these things turns out to be just a little bit fucking twisted and
Mhm.
wicked and wrong and selfish and all these things. And those people that you thought were just so irredeemable, you eventually are like, okay, I kind of get it. And you kind of
Mhm.
feel for them. And that movie, like, and it's like, I love that you're exploring themes like that in your book because I think
Yeah, in a
that,
YA setting, I think,
right,
yeah,
it's such a powerful thing.
empathy building thing,
I was
yeah.
just going to say, and as I've done some deep diving recently, learning how important it is for kids around 10 years old
Hmm.
and up to really be having their empathy checked and
Mhm.
worked hard, as how important it is for society in
Yeah.
order to function appropriately.
And how important that
I'm
is.
just gonna circumlocute around that.
Yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
think we're picking up what you're putting down there.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
Absolutely.
But, one, I wanna joke and say, when you're saying bringing some humanity and whatever to the most annoying characters, I just wanna say hi to Caleb and Undead Girl Gang. That, that's what character, like, as that person comes up later in the book, I'm like, "No, I refuse to like him."
You don't have to like him. He just doesn't deserve to die.
No, no, exactly, yeah, so that's so funny, and, I messaged you when I was reading Showstopper, and I was like, "I swear, like, I'm gonna be in so much pain if you kill any of
Yeah.
these people," you know what I mean? Because it's like you make them so real, and, that's one of the things that I feel like the best slashers, and I'm trying to think, like, obviously Scream too, for
Hmm.
Randy and Helen, and I Know
Yes.
What You Did Last Summer and stuff like that. Those are the things that you remember when those characters that you love so much die anyway, even though sometimes
Yeah.
they
Core
did the thing,
wounds.
yeah, and, like, Showstopper did that a couple times to me, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to forgive you, it's hard.
Yeah. My editor tried to talk me out of at least one where she was like,
I have a distinct
okay,
feeling
no,
which
but
one.
yes, yeah, yeah. She was like, okay, no, but not this. And I said, the kills have to get worse as the book goes on so
Those
that I
ones
like,
where, like, and you do it so well in this one where it's kinda like a couple of different things are happening at the same time, and you wanna just be
mhm,
like, "Go over there and help," you know what I mean?
yeah,
And you
yeah,
just like, you see it slow motion, like, you realize what's about to happen, and you're just like, nothing you can do about it. And like, so it works so well. I think it is necessary to like the story and everything, but it definitely hurts. And
It still hurts.
yeah, the fact that it hurts means you're doing a really good job. So hopefully that's good. And I think that, as we're like reading lots of different things, and I'm uh an elementary school teacher. And so I read
Yeah.
a lot of middle grade. And then also, with the YA, just kind of getting into and understanding sort of like, I think that YA, people outside that maybe don't read it as much are kind of picturing Fear Street, and that kind of thing. But YA is it's pretty A as well as the Y, right? And
Yeah.
like,
It is.
yeah, and
It
Showstopper, yeah.
grew to be. It wasn't always. It sort of just, I remember when my local Barnes& and Noble moved YA out of the kids section, like,
Mhm.
I was there that day
Yeah.
and was just like, "Whoa, this is a big change." And then
Yeah.
the books start to reflect that. Like, they don't touch middle grade as much anymore, which is a loss.
Mhm.
But yeah, I want my books to have like the pacing of a Fear Street. Like
Mhm.
I want it to be like fun and like a roller coaster and like if you could read it in a sitting and it'd be like watching a movie. But there will be some themes.
Yeah, and I
It's not
think
the most
that yeah,
explicit IA
yeah,
book, but there's some topics.
yeah, and, like, I think that that is I think it's really important and plays a really big role, and I think that also, if you're not, like myself, I am not a young adult anymore, but reading it really, like
Chronologically.
yes, emotionally, maybe, I'm middle grade. But I think it also is really important to sort of see again, it builds empathy in older readers to see that, like, one, young adults are going through similar things, but like when you get a book like this that is really complicated, in the characters, in the relationships, and that kind of stuff, I think it shows that, there's this assumed simplicity to young adults that is just not accurate to the experience that they have.
No, their lives are really complicated and even more so because of their lack of power.
Mm,
And that's part of what's so interesting writing for them is that is recognizing how many situations that you're like, "Oh, I just don't have that problem anymore because 'cause I'm an adult." And
yeah.
like if I'm stuck somewhere, I will order a Lyft. And if I don't have money, it'll go on my credit card and that'll be a problem for later, but I'll pay it down. Like there are just so many you just make so many of your choices and then you think about a teenager who even now with like the world in their pocket. It's like, oh, but you don't have money and you don't make your own choices. And like, you can't even choose what to eat for breakfast. They just go, this is breakfast.
Yeah.
And your world is really small and you're in this community you didn't choose, surrounded by people you may or may not like, and you just have to see them every day. And it's not like, if you're an adult and you don't like what you do every day, you go, oh, I guess I should get a new job. Maybe I should move. And if you're a teenager, you're trapped.
Yeah.
And
True.
that's why I started writing YA horror. I started writing YA romance and then was like, you know, I think there's actually more to be mined from how absolutely terrifying adolescence is.
Well, that's funny
Yes.
because, like, when you said that, I immediately, like, that's all what Scouts Honor is about, right? Like, that
Yes.
you
Yeah.
did not choose this. You don't want to see this stuff. You made the choice to leave it, and you still are forced to be back
Yeah.
into it, you
And
know?
they drag you back in. Yeah, that is the plot of my award-winning novel Scout's Honor, which is horror adjacent. Like there are monsters, but are we the real monsters?
Oh, yeah. And, it's funny because it's always interesting seeing how adults are portrayed in these. And I think of, Undead Girl Gang, especially the school counselor or psychologist,
Mhm.
whatever, character where you're like, this person, when you first meet them, you're like, this person's kind of creepy, very like tone deaf. And then, you realize later on that there's so much more going on with that person too, that it sort of shows that other side of like when you are that young adult and you see this person just sort of instilling their will and not understanding what's happening behind the scenes that's making them maybe say some of these things. It kind of brings on both sides. Like me as a parent, I'm like, oh, I need to make my child more a part of. I might ultimately tell them this is what they have to do, but if I explain a little bit more like what's going on behind that, it might change the mindset as to how they're taking it, you know?
Sure. The
Yeah,
context and how you frame things is
Mhm.
so critical.
absolutely. And I really think that, I mean, I think that teenagers especially think all adults who care about them are creepy.
Oh, yeah.
It's
They
it
just don't
it,
get it. I mean, I was at my most
yeah.
unruly, I think, at,
Yeah.
like I remember feeling like my parents are idiots at
Yeah.
15. It was, like, 15. I was
Yeah.
like because you're at
Yes,
that
peak.
point where you're old enough to, like,
Mhm.
wanna have and do everything,
Yeah.
but you're just stupid enough that you don't know.
That counselor's a little
Yeah,
obsessed with Xander, though, let's be honest.
absolutely.
Okay, that's
Look,
fair. That's fair.
Although he's
but his
pretty dreamy,
sister
so
just his
yes, yes.
sister and his ex-girlfriend just died.
So that
Like,
does make
you
sense.
would check in a
Yeah.
lot.
So that is funny, yeah, that assumption of, like, "Why are you bothering me?" It's like, because of this, this, and this." I was like so, yeah, that's really
It's
funny.
also, yeah, because it's my job and someone went, "Did you check on that kid?"
Yeah. So I wanted to ask too, because Showstopper, like a lot of the sort of conflict, there's a few different conflicts, but one is sort of like the tech and the acting sides of, this sort of camp and who's putting on these shows. As someone that is more versed in that world, is that stemming from like reality, or is that something that you created for the book, or is that like something you've experienced?
I like this
It
response.
depends. That's my don't libel anyone. So I grew up in a youth theater program. It
Hmm.
wasn't a summer camp. We got to go home, and that also meant that we did shows throughout the year. And it was in partnership with a local college, and our techs were largely college aged men.
Gotcha.
And so there were a lot of just grown men around a bunch of teenagers.
Mm,
And no one ever thought, oh, that could be a problem. And it was a problem.
yeah.
There were shows where other teens, like if we had, if you have the extra people around, like we would have other teens tech shows. Sometimes I have tech shows, but it was an easy way to have the college kids earn extra credit or to
Mhm.
like earn a class credit to be like, oh yeah, they're just gonna, sit here and run the fly rail for the next 3 weeks. And I'm sure they won't say anything weird to you while you change clothes in front of them.
Mm,
So it is something that has happened. I think it is more common for like if you do a play at a high school,
yeah.
then you just sort of have like other high school kids
Mhm.
run tech. But my program was sort of like a step above that, where like we paid to be there. It was a little bit more expensive. It was a little bit fancier. You had to audition. You had, and so that meant that like some of the tech stuff was a little more complicated. When we did Peter Pan and people were flying, you can't have kids flying other kids. You can have apparently a bunch of 25-year-olds fly a bunch of
Mm.
kids. So yeah, it was an interesting mix of people, and yeah, I wrote a book about it.
I'm sensing some catharsis might have been had through some certain aspects of this book, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
a little bit, and a little bit of just like, oh, if I have one thing to tell younger people,
Mhm.
it's that like,
Yep.
yeah, when you have the same interests as an adult, it doesn't make you more grown up.
Yeah.
It can create this sort of false sense of security where everyone's like, we're all on the same team, we're all doing the same stuff here, and it's like, sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
And if everyone behaves themselves,
Mhm.
that's great. And sometimes you get creeps.
Yep.
And that's true anywhere,
Yes.
but in the arts, yeah, you see creeps. You
It
see,
is I think it is true everywhere, but it's good to know that it can
Yeah.
happen there too.
If you have
yeah,
not
yeah,
read Showstopper, stop, read the book, come back. This will make a
yeah,
lot more sense to you guys.
yeah. But yeah, you see, I mean, it's just and it does happen everywhere. It's the person. There was like a rumor in my town of like, oh, this person married. The band director married a former student,
Yep.
and like that. It was just sort of like, oh yeah, that's weird. And then as an adult, you're like, no, 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 weird's not the word.
No, illegal. Yeah,
Yeah,
that is predatory behavior.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting, and it kind of leads to, the other thing that's so interesting in this book and, is also a big theme in others, especially, thinking again on Undead Girl Gang is this sort of created sort of toxic rivalry, between especially these girls that they're trying to like at all costs be better than each other at the expense of, these friendships that they could have, these sort of like camaraderie and partnerships and lifting each other up. Instead, they're kind of told only one of you can win, which creates this like really like hatred towards each other that should not exist.
Oh, absolutely. And I am very fascinated by that part of young womanhood
Mhm.
that is like, oh, we're being pit against each other, and I guess we're gonna roll with that instead of being like, oh, no, we actually have like a lot in common. And
Yeah.
I think that's probably the number one. I think if you read all of my books, if you read all my books back to back, you'd go, oh yeah, she's got a problem with that.
She's got a
Because
problem.
she has a problem with that. Something happened to her. But yeah, because I hate that. And it's so hard to explain it. And when you're living in it, you're just like, yeah, this is normal. I just have to be better than other women. And it's like, no, you absolutely don't. And
No.
you could all be better together, and you have life experience that you could share with these people instead
Mhm.
of using it to hurt each other viciously for no reason other than boredom a lot of the time.
I
Yeah.
feel like, women don't get that message until they're maybe in their early 30s,
Yeah.
like, that they move out
Yeah.
of it, and I don't know I don't know if we're, like, conditioned societally to do this but there's always those group of, like, mean girls that get off, and then there's, like, the ones that are, like, decent, but then, I mean, even as you go into your 20s, like, there's a lot of competition and just I don't know, it feels like once you get to this certain level of maybe life has beaten you down enough that you're all of a sudden like, let's respect each other and let's uphold each other and like, because like late 30s, early 40s, amazing women. Like I refuse
Yeah.
to not have women that are not like that root for me in every situation. Like those are my friends now.
Mhm.
Like I don't have time for women that need to be critical. Like period.
Yeah, I think in sort of a general heteronormative sense, it is probably related to competing over
Mhm.
men's attention.
You're
Right.
probably right. I
And
think you are.
then after you either like your friends are mostly married, or you're sort of aged out of being like the height of the beauty standard, it's easier to be friends with each other.
Mhm.
It's all, I mean, but it's not just something that happens there, because like even like career wise, I have seen that
Mhm.
it just the more middle aged I become, the easier it is to be friends with other women and
Yeah.
to not have it automatically be a competition of like, well, who's succeeding
Yeah.
and what
Mhm.
does that mean for me? And if I'm not doing what you're doing, are you judging me? And it's like, well, absolutely not. Like, and I
Mhm.
started in my late 20s, early 30s. A thing that I say probably the most is, I don't care either way. I'm interested to know you, but I'm not asking what you're doing to judge you on it. I just want to know you. And
Yeah.
so like I don't have a dog in this race. I don't care. I just want to know as a friend or whatever, but it's hard because you're conditioned to also be like, if I tell them everything, they'll use it against me. And I'm like, oh, I'm not storing the nuclear codes to our friendship. I don't want that. And if I could go back in time and be a teenager again, all I would do is be like, just convince people to be nice. Just be nice to people. Just
Yeah.
don't compete with everyone.
You know,
And
I
so that again, that's what YA is for me. Is
yeah.
a way to be like, you guys don't have to live like this.
And I think it's interesting because we have a seventh grader right now, and our school district has started this class called humanities. And they're really trying to like go in and talk about these things and like empathy building and like exactly the stuff like this is a fixed mindset. This is a growth mindset. Hey, this is how we
Yeah.
compete. Like they're going in there, they're talking about this. Like you basically what you just said, like you can be supportive. You can do these things. Like we should just like decent decorum, right?
Mhm.
But like
Yeah.
as it pertains to, modern day things, right? And she comes home and she talks to us. So, like she actually does this whole like teaching spiel for it, whatever. But for schools that don't have this, like where else are they supposed to get this? So if you're not doing work like this, you know what I mean? Or even if you pair it in conjunction, how powerful is that,
Mhm.
right? It's like you're teaching societal values through your books.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, again, coming from the education side, like what we've seen is that social emotional learning is paramount to the
Mhm.
Yeah.
success of not just the child, but to society at large.
Yeah.
And so that should be reinforced everywhere. So like, yeah, in the best case scenario, you get it at school and then you come home and you get it from your parents and it's in the entertainment that you watch and it's in the algorithm that you found yourself
Mhm.
trapped in.
Mhm.
And then if it's in books and it's in movies, then it's just like, oh yeah, this is normal. It's normal to act this way because that's what taught us to be hateful. But it
Yeah.
was like, but I was watching teen TV shows and teen movies where everyone, all teenagers, looked like they were 25. So when
Mhm.
Yeah.
25-year-olds were around, we were like, yeah, normal. It's normal to be attracted to them and for them to be attracted to us because that's what teenagers look like. And
Mhm.
they're mean. It was just so competitive and it was like reinforced everywhere to be snide and to be conniving and that's just the best you could do.
Not even like the best. It's like it's what you should aspire to be.
Yeah, that's how you
Yeah,
Like
win.
like if you're yeah, like if you're anybody, if you're not a nerd, if you're not weak, you're gonna be this. And think about like the movie Cruel Intentions,
absolutely.
where it was
And for I
like
mean, yeah,
that was a whole other level of just
Mhm.
like
right.
I think there was some diagnoses
Manipulation.
there
Yeah.
of like,
Yeah.
you know,
Even at the end, it's like she won by destroying this other person ultimately,
she did.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the nice girl wins by
Yeah.
destroying someone. Like, isn't it great that now she's addicted to drugs and will never be happy and her
Yeah.
stepbrother's dead?
Mhm.
Spoilers for Cruel Intentions.
I'll tell you what,
If
I
you
never
haven't
heard
seen
it
it, you'll
explained that way. I'm like,
that's
damn,
so interesting. It's
it's
like
a messed up. I mean, I already
Sarah
thought
Michelle Gellar went through it in the
she
90s, didn't
did.
she?
She
Man.
really
Absolutely.
did.
But I think it's, the one thing that's really interesting, as you talk about that, it's like through your books, you use like supernatural horror to strip away those like
Love
sort
it.
of things that are causing these characters to be in competition so that they are forced to see each other as human beings. And then they're like, oh shit, I like you. And that's such a cool thing.
Yeah, I think that is sort of like the byline of all of my books is why are we competing with each other? We're in community. Like
Yeah.
you don't and that doesn't mean that they have to be your favorite person even. Cuz
Hmm.
like Undead Girl Gang is like, wow, why were we fighting? We're best friends. But
Yeah.
Scout's Honor is why were we fighting? We could just not know each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like that's an option too. You don't have to destroy each
You
other's
can,
lives.
yeah, like
Yeah.
the concept of just civility,
You can just like
Yes.
yeah,
respect,
you can just be over there
yeah,
doing your thing and I'll be over here doing my thing.
yeah. Because there are, look, I think like I really love people. Like I know people are like I hate people. I'm like no, I really do. I really love people, and I'm kind of forgiving to a fault. And I love meeting all different. I am
Mhm.
that person that's in the store that just strikes up the random conversation.
Mhm.
Like okay,
I do that as well. I was raised to be a store talker.
yeah, I just if I see someone like I love your shirt, I love like it just is, right? But there's a few people that like, I just remember in high school where I'm like, I just don't care for that person. Now, would I
Mhm.
ever say something mean or whatever? But I'm like, I don't get the attraction.
Mhm.
Like I don't, and I almost started like I remember thinking at that time in high school of just like really analytically, like, is this like a breed of animal or a type of like, is there something that like a dog wouldn't like for like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Where it's just like, is there something that like I'm just other people are like, I like these characteristics. Like I was trying to look for something else in like nature or
Mm.
society that would reflect why because I was like, how do I like all these people? But there's just something about the way that this person is like and it
They're
was like
giving something off and maybe I'm
yeah,
giving off something to them
it
too.
is.
Yeah.
It is. But like you didn't have to tear each other down. You just
Mhm.
never
Yeah.
connected, is what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say.
And that's like okay too. Like that's a good lesson to learn too that
That's what I'm
also
trying to
is
say. Is like
okay. Yeah.
maybe and like you just, you're an elephant and this is something
Mhm.
else and you're just like our environments never really are going to
Yeah.
I don't know, let's say a dolphin, right? Like
Right.
they're not really
Yeah.
going to connect,
Yeah.
right? But you're just like you're all considered to be an animal
Mhm.
kingdom, but you don't have any properties the same. You don't want to,
Mhm.
and it's just like that's okay though. But it's like I think they came back to like decent human respect. So I don't know. I think like you doing stuff like that is so I have hope for things when we can get enough of these things spread and shared and it's been to take a word from Brian McCauley when we had him once, like everything can be fixed through love and community. And when you're like, we're all
Absolutely.
in community here and we're in love, it's like, the male loneliness epidemic is due to not having enough community.
Mhm.
And I just saw a thing, I think it was New York Times that said there's a like a touch epidemic happening to like young boys that they're not like, like hugged and loved
Mm.
and touched, and like you're not having enough love and enough community, bad things happen to yourself, to others, whatnot. So I feel like you, through your writing, teaching people through these conversations of how to do this
Mm-hmm.
is really important, because nobody, even as mean or altogether as they think they have it, goes through loneliness. Realizing how to navigate community when you dislike someone, really dislike someone, or just like them a little bit, right? Because it's going to be different intensity levels of
Mm-hmm.
things, and saying
Mhm.
that's okay. Maybe it's more like thinking about it like as in like food, where it's like, I'll eat it, but I don't prefer it. Whereas, oh, I really dislike the other one, where it's like, you couldn't force me to eat it. Whereas you have other things you really like. It's like, we taught kids that way, where it's like, you can say no thank you. You don't have to like yuck someone's yum.
And you
You
can
don't
say
have
that to
to
people
like,
too.
do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah,
But at the
yeah.
same time, yeah, you don't want to wait until they're, in the case of your book, literally dead to find out that you like somebody
That
too.
sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Right. Well, and yeah.
what does that mean for, okay, metaphorically dead, but I mean, is that after you've said something
That you
really
can't
hard that
take
you
back,
can't
and
take
yeah.
back? Is it you've done
Or
something,
they moved away, they've aged out,
you've embarrassed that? Yeah, like all of that, right? It's a lot to think about.
Yeah, no, I I mean, I totally agree. And I think the food metaphor is really good, because it is like, you can have preferences. We're all allowed to have preferences.
Yeah.
But
It's
yeah,
like, but you don't have to yuck the yum. And I think that's what
yes, yeah.
we do.
Or
And
say,
I love so many things that are yucky.
yeah,
Just-
where it's like, I
I
don't like broccoli, so all broccoli should not exist. Like that's
Right.
almost the mentality of like, every time I see broccoli, I'm gonna throw it away.
Or it's
You know
like,
what I mean? It's like, you
ew,
can't do that.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Instead of understanding like, oh, people have different taste buds. And
Yeah.
like,
I mean, I think this is
Or
how the
even
whole
like,
like,
hey, have you ever tried broccoli with cheese on it? Because that shit's delicious. You know
yeah,
what I mean? So
that's
it's like,
true. It's the
right.
best way to have it.
But it's like that whole thing of let's try to make fetch happen,
Oh, yeah.
like from that movie.
Speaking of Mean Girls, yeah.
Right. And it's
Mhm.
just like, wait a minute. It's like you're creating what, this chasm of, I'm saying this is cool right now. And that is a lot of that kind of like bullying nature too, of maybe you don't even feel that way, that like, you're
Mhm.
like, actually, I just like broccoli as is,
Yeah.
but you're not going to speak up. You're not going to say it,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of peer pressure.
There is, and it's a very easy shortcut to dislike things as a group.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's an easy way to be like, oh, if we all agree on this thing that we don't like, then
Mhm.
you'll accept me no
Yep.
matter what else I do. I don't have to do
Yes,
anything else except
yes, it
say
is.
I
It's like
don't
this
like this. It's a shortcut.
bargaining that is,
Yeah.
whether spoken or unspoken, that is kind of like, we're going to form this, right? Yes.
And it is easier to do that than to like find real common ground, or to like recognize the humanity of other people.
Yeah.
But it's more rewarding to say, what if we actually all liked something? What if instead
Yeah.
of hating broccoli, we all loved kale?
I
But
like,
because like loving things is like really active, and you have to like, be
listen,
positive.
Adam, you know that I love metaphors
Mhm.
and I think in pictures. So, Lily, you saying this, but it's like, I do not like kale,
Mhm.
except I like kale chips after they've been drenched
Mhm.
in avocado oil and toasted and
Yeah.
salted.
Yeah.
And I
Perfect.
like kale after with massaged kale salad, where
Mhm.
you break down
Yes.
all the
Yes.
terrible fibrous, and all of a
You
sudden,
have to break it down.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, so what I'm realizing is it's all in the prep. Sorry about that. What I'm realizing is it's,
Corgi just lost his mind. Let's give it. Go
yeah.
ahead.
Sorry about that.
Well, it's because
We're
he
so
he
sorry,
wants
Winston. We're
he
so
wants me to
sorry to
give him
interrupt your
hugs.
night. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's all in the preparation for it, right? And like realizing like you might have to do a little work to get it to where it needs to be. And I think that could be an analogy for work on yourself of, okay,
Yeah.
you got to add some things. Maybe, are you really a nickel out here looking for a dime as well for
Mhm.
yourself? So
Mhm.
it's like, you have to be willing to stretch and build those things too, and I think a lot of that is showing up authentically of what you really do and don't like, because when you don't have, when you just agree with everything, or you're just trying to fit in, like, you're frictionless. And yes, it's scarier to like have these parts that stick out to be yourself. I guess for me, I never realized that people were masking, because hello ADHD, I was always like, yeah, I like this, or I don't. I always showed up like that. And then when I was rejected,
Same.
or whatever, it was like, there was no well, thank goodness I didn't put my whole self out there because, of course I did, right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize other people were not doing that. But I also feel like,
Yeah, there's also an issue of people when you're like, "Well, we're all being our authentic selves, right?" And they're like, "Yeah, totally." And then you
yeah,
realize,
I
"Oh,
never, like, it never occurred to me not. But I think that helped me to find my tribe earlier. And I hope that I give off safe vibes to people or I continue to make friends. And I hear a lot of people say, like, when you get into your late 30s and 40s, it's hard to make friends. And I'm like, not having that. And I think it's because I was comfortable with myself earlier on that I was like, I know we talked with Haley Piper about this, but it's like, I refuse to self abandon anymore.
New.
Yeah, yeah. Why did I say it? I say every I know we talked to Haley
New.
Newland about this and that I refuse to self-abandon anymore.
I'm sure Haley Piper would say the same thing.
Yeah, well, we haven't talked,
I know. Yes.
but we can ask.
hmm
Is that how you feel too when you're at this point where you're just like, I'm just it's not hit that we don't give a damn club. Like
hmm
I'm not doing it anymore. I just want to be myself.
I feel like I was born with a very strong personality, and so I have always been sort of this is it. This is what
Yeah.
I'm like. You're gonna you can get on board or not, but I'm aware that like I am an acquired taste. It's part of why the food analogy works for me so well. I'm like
Right?
anchovies. I get it.
I was
You
gonna say
don't
like
have to like
horseradish,
this.
where you're like,
Yeah.
it's a significantly underused
hmm
condiment, but that shit's delicious, right?
So good. Yeah. And so yeah, I absolutely won't self-abandon and that does make people uncomfortable. But it is
Yeah.
people who are like, why aren't you doing the thing we all agreed to do? You have to just betray your own interests in order to fit in. And I'm just not like that. But
Well,
because
I
like,
love it, and thank
yeah.
goodness you weren't.
and I love that. Like, that's the other thing that when reading your books that I really love is that like, you know, this idea in like saying it's like, no, guys, I can be fat and I can be hot. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And it's like, and you don't have to use a euphemism.
Thank
You
you.
don't, you don't have to like, but you don't have to like say anything other than it is. It's like, I'm going to own it. And it's like, guess what? I am desirable the way that I am. And like, and that can mean whatever, it is. And so like, I love like owning that word and saying like, that's not an insult when you say that. That is a description of, a physical size or whatever. And it's like, and these guys want me, or this girl wants me, or whatever it
Mhm.
is. And so it's like part of the same thing. It's like, okay, like I'm horseradish or I'm whatever it is. And not everybody wants that. But the ones that do really do. And I'm okay with that.
I was even thinking like hot sauce. Like a lot of people don't have a spice tolerance, but
hmm
everyone's like they put that shit on everything, or the
Yep.
people that drench ketchup and everything. It's like
hmm
there's something for everyone. But I love the ownership that you're saying for that
hmm
of just I think it's such a fantastic
Yeah.
message to be getting out at this age because and if you're an adult, start reading these things because I'm sure there's a part of your teenage young self that needs to be reparented and come back into full cohesion with your
hmm
adult self to say, you're safe now and you
hmm
don't have to do these things because you know damn well it's happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
there's some part of, I'm sure after you wrote this book that there was cathartic things, but we've all lived through some junior high school experience that, this book will, they're like, you know what? And my younger self needs to read
mhm,
this.
Yeah, I think every book I write, around the second draft, I message a friend of mine, and I didn't know I was doing this until he told me. But every second draft, I say, "This is a book for no one," which is just me being like, "Oh, I wrote this book. I'm the only person in the world who could like this." And then I finish editing it, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, I guess other people could like it." But there is a point in writing where I'm like, "This is just for me. This is mine."
I love
Other
that.
people are gonna can like it, I guess, but I wrote everything I wanted to, which I don't. This is starting to feel a lot like therapy. I'm like, oh no, I guess that is
Listen,
why. But like, yeah,
the
that's
tagline was
I.
originally horror therapy hour. We still try to
Yes,
have therapy through these conversations. So
it's working. Yeah, because yeah, I am like, no, I've always been my full authentic self, and that's what my books are as well. And
And I think
so,
that's why like that rings through the books, and that's one of the things that makes them so freaking good and so lovable. And also like I might not see myself in the character specifically, but like I certainly all of the emotions and those things ring so true that whether you're a theater kid or, you're bringing back your best friend from the dead, I think there's so much that you can identify with in the experiences that they have that, by being so individual, it becomes universal in a weird way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't have to be a fat Latina to like my books, but it helps.
Oh my God. We always pick a teaser clip, right? Do you want that to be
There you
there?
go. That's
There
the
you
one.
I'm pretty much, I feel like I'm like,
Clip it.
there it is.
That was genius. So
It really,
that
but no, thank you for just like
yeah.
being willing to indulge in vulnerability
Mhm.
and good conversation, because I go back to Adam where you said like there are people that will buy the book because it looks good, but then there are people that are like, I like what I've learned about
Mhm.
meeting this author. They sound like they're a really cool person. So I'm gonna buy their book for that.
Yeah.
And if they listen to this episode and they don't read it or buy it,
Then they're
then
fucking pieces of shit that don't
yeah.
they don't deserve to read your books anyway. So
I was
like,
gonna say then like I don't know what
what do they
food or
want?
flavor thing or
Mhm.
they need to
Yeah, they're big fans of raisins and potato salad then.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But September 30th is the big day for you, right?
Woohoo.
It is. It's I think the
Double
first time
release.
in my career that I've had a double release. Yeah, Showstopper is out for the very first time, and Killer House Party is coming out in paperback with a very cool redesign. The book is the same, but it's just gorgeous.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm so excited.
Now I'm gonna
So
have to
yeah,
buy it
that's
again.
in
Thanks. Appreciate
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
hey, I had to make more room on my shelves. I didn't pay for my copies, but I was like, oh, okay, gotta move everything around so I can fit these.
Don't let him fool you. He's looking forward to it.
I know, So September 30th, make sure you buy both. Where can we find your presence online if you have one? I know you do because I follow you. So, but if you want to,
I am Ms. Lily Anderson, MSLILYANDERSON at Instagram and .com. Ms. Lily Anderson because there are just a surprising number of other Lily Andersons. And when I started, I was still an elementary school librarian, and my students would be like, "Oh, now I know your name," and I was like, "Nope, it's still Ms. You still got to call me Ms.
yep,
Anderson."
yep. They asked me, I'm like, yeah, my first name's Mister. Thanks.
Yeah.
I love that. So, well, it was an absolute pleasure, and hopefully, any books that come next that we can talk again about them because this was amazing.
Yeah, I had a great time.
Thank you so much for having me. Hopefully, there will be
I
an
wish you lived
announcement
closer,
soonish.
not across
Oh,
the
I know.
entire United States, because I think we would have
So far.
more fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Damn it.
if I'm ever on the absolute other side of the country, I'll let you know. And
Yeah.
likewise, if you ever come out to California, it's gigantic, but I'm here somewhere.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds good. Okay.
All right.
Thank
See
you.
you
Have a great
later.
race through your night.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.